Hi there, folks. My name is Hannah Morell. I'm a financial coach with Pacific Stoa Financial Coaching. And welcome to our first class meeting for the Mid Valley Parenting's Family Fun Box class and group. This is very exciting and very new. I am recording this ahead of time in my closet. Obviously, you can see some of my storage stuff. Um, Angie, my co-presenter, and I are live right now with you on the watch party. So if you have questions, type them in, and we'll be right there to answer while I'm recording this message to you. So the intention behind these classes is to add a little fun. So that's what the boxes are for, and to alleviate some of the mundane sameness of being locked down from this COVID-19 stuff, and to help you guys advocate for you guys to build a community of parents around you. Angie and my job is not to teach, it's mostly to give you tools. We don't ever tell anybody what to do with their money or how they parent, but we are here to support you and help you support each other. And from what we saw from the last class, folks really did have a good time getting to know each other, sharing their own experiences with each other, which is probably the best thing that we ever can see. So it's very, very wonderful to watch the parents get to know each other, especially when we're feeling so isolated. It's lovely that we can feel like we're supporting each other. Um, so my purpose with this first video is to kind of explain um, our goals for both Angie and I. So Angie is a parent educator. That's where her training is. So uh, as we go through this and as you guys have parenting questions, Angie's gonna be your biggest resource. Um, I am a financial coach, and I need to make it clear that first and foremost, I never, ever, ever, ever tell anybody what to do with their money. I am a coach. That means I help people get from one place to the other with what they want financially. Many of my tools are mechanical, so those are like the me teaching you the difference between a stock and a bond, and me teaching somebody how to pay off their debt quickly or how to run a credit report is a really good example of a mechanical financial tool. And many of mine are softer skills. So those are the decision making tools, those are resilience building, trust building tools. And many of those are games, and many of those games can be pivoted to for your children. And of course, every family is different, every child is different. So we'll talk a lot about the ways that that things can be customized. Essentially, there's three. Any tool that we teach has to check three boxes. It has to be customizable for you. So we are never going to give you a one size fits all, you must do it this way kind of a tool. That's never going to happen. Second one is it has to be easy for both you and I, and or us and I, to implement. So I don't want to be carrying around a whole, backpack full of garbage and stuff. I don't want you to have a whole bunch of stuff around to feel like you're parenting. So no extra stuff, but that's kind of the point of this, right? Too, is the box. So the box is there to help things lighten things up for you guys, get you guys some extra entertainment, and to add some extra resources for you guys to use as you're playing these games with your kiddos. The third box that my tools have to check is that they have to work. And we'll talk a lot about this, about the experimentation side of both parenting and finances, is that you kind of have to find out what works for you. And especially with parenting, something can work today and doesn't work in 2 weeks. And I know that you know enough about parenting to know that that's absolutely true. My child is 20, so I'm a parent, but it's been a while since I've been around littles. So probably the easiest way to explain what I do as a financial coach is to think about what your GPS on your phone does for you. So, all right, so you get in your car, you turn on your GPS, and your GPS is going to need just two pieces of information, right? So GPS needs to know what? Let me see. I'm going to leave a little space here. It's very awkward because this is just me and my animals sitting here. What are the two pieces of information that your GPS needs from you? So I'm going to assume everybody nailed it. And that you came up with the two pieces of information that our GPS needs is where you are now and where you want to go. And with those two pieces of information, your GPS begins to build a pathway, right? That's my job. My job is to help you build a pathway from where you are right now to where you want to go. Where we are now changes all the time. So that's one of those things that I'm constantly checking on. GPS is very fast at this. So GPS does this many, many times a second. GPS is going, where are we now? Where are we now? Where are we now? Where are we now? I do this too with my clients, but not that fast. But more important than where we are right now is where we want to go. And my clients tell me that. I never get to tell my clients where they want to go. I never get to tell anybody that, you really should be thinking about investing in a giraffe farm. That's not mine to say. If my client wants to have a giraffe farm someday, then that's what we're going to drive towards. Otherwise, it's not, I don't get to direct anybody. I just get to help you get there. So let's say you're driving along, you're following your GPS, and you make a wrong turn, or you choose to stop at a gas station, let's say. What would your GPS do? So your GPS is just going to reroute you. And it will do that as quickly as it possibly can. Let's say you are driving along, following your GPS, and this time it's a car accident that's in front of you, or a tree fell in the road. What would your GPS do for you then? So your GPS is going to try to reroute you if it can. If it can't, it's at the very least, it's going to give you a heads up. It's going to be like, this is still your fastest route, but you got like a 45-minute delay. So it's going to give you a heads up, or it's going to try to reroute you. Or in some cases, it's going to be both. So that makes my job very simple. So I don't care if it's something that happened to my client or something they did. It doesn't matter to me. We're just going to reroute, which is great for me because according to me, none of my clients have ever failed. They've never gone backwards. We just have a new starting point. And over and over and over again, you'll catch that that's what we're doing. This is just our new starting point. This is just our new starting point. This is just our new starting point. There is no failing, which kind of brings to mind something that our GPS never cares about. There isn't even a way to tell your GPS where you've been because our GPS does not care about the past. I certainly care where people have been because it informs where we are right now, right? And that's important sometimes, but it is not as important as we think it is. So my job as a financial coach, and in these classes, the tools that I pass along to you, you'll catch me that I'm focused on two things. Where are you now and where do you want to go? And my job, our job, Angie and mine, is to help you build a pathway between those two things. To give you a heads up if there's something coming that is going to derail us or need us to reroute. And if we need to reroute, because I'm sorry, that's going to happen. We're all going to have to reroute at some point. My job is just to reroute. No judgment, no agenda. Unlike GPS, though, my job is to eventually not be needed. And this has a parallel to us as parents, right? Our job as parents is to make it so that our children eventually don't need us anymore, which isn't super fun. Trust me, my child is 20 and doesn't need me anymore. That's kind of my job, right? My job is to not be needed by this child. So my job as a financial coach is that eventually I'm out of a job, which is not a great business plan, but that's my purpose, right? I have clients that I've had for a couple of years, some of my first sets of clients that they don't need me anymore. We occasionally get together and recalibrate, but that's not the same as me building a path for them. They are building a path for themselves. So let's see. I'm sure I'm forgetting something about GPS, but we'll circle back if it pops in my head again. So one of the first things that I talk about with folks as we're building a pathway is what they want to do, where they want to go, what their destination are, what their goals are. So we're going to walk through the first part of a goal setting process that I use. I use this and I teach this, and I'm going to say the questions. This is really weird, one-sided, so please bear with me. Take a minute right now. I'm gonna pause, and I'd like you to get together some pen and paper, something to make notes on real fast. Doesn't have to be pretty. You're the only one that's gonna see this. Just take about 10 seconds here and get some paper and pen together. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to start with is, what are your goals? Where do you want to go? And just write down what the first thing that comes to your head. And this is not rocket science. Everybody, every consultant, every hairdresser, every personal fitness coach is going to ask you this question. What are we doing here? What's the purpose? All right. So thinking about that, and that right now is our destination. But I'm going to be the question. The purpose of these questions is to develop that destination, the picture of what that destination looks like in your mind. And eventually, absolutely, I want to hear from you. This is what I'm for. That's why this one directional communication is super frustrating for me. It's because I can't get any feedback from you. Okay, so you've got your destination in front of you. So I want you to think about those things that you've got in front of you, those goals. And I'm going to wave my magic wand. Here, this is a good one. This is a magic wand. It's for some sort of smushing of things. I don't know. It's here in my storage. All right, so here's my magic wand. I'm going to wave my magic wand. I'm going to snap my fingers. And right now, everything that you just came up with as a goal is resolved. So if your goal was to have a job, then you have it. I've made it happen. It's magic. If your goal was to get a place or a different place, then it's done. It's resolved. If your goal was to have good childcare, trustworthy childcare for your children, it's done. All right, so we've waved our magic wands. We have disappeared whatever that goal was right in front of you. And the next question is, what's next for you? The magic wand is very important because frequently the goal that we have in front of us is not an actual goal. It's an obstacle. Does that mean we shouldn't be trying to resolve that obstacle? Absolutely not. We should be trying to resolve that obstacle, but it's not a goal. So, and I'm not sure what you wrote down, but I'm just going to generalize. Typically, the first goals that I hear people say is, I got to get out of debt, right? We have got to find a place that's cheaper. Got to stop renting this expensive place. Or I just need to buy this house. Or I just need to get this job. All of those things are wonderful things that we should be working towards accomplishing, but they're obstacles. If you don't have good housing, that's an obstacle. Having good housing is our neutral. That's our starting point. Having a source of income is not a goal. That is a neutral. When you resolve a negative, like not having a job, it's a neutral. It's back to zero. I don't remember, from middle school math, if you resolve a negative, you've got a -5 for a job, for not having a job, and you get your job, you're at your starting point. You're at zero. So waving your magic wand is important because it's important to start looking at things that are proper goals. And of course, I'm never going to tell anybody, look, being out of debt is an obstacle. It's not a goal. Give me a proper goal, please. That's not ever going to happen. But it's important to start thinking a little bit past. All right. So now that you've got your magic wand, you've waved your magic wand, you've disappeared your obstacles, and now you're thinking about your goals. And if the first thing that you thought was, I don't know, that is a perfectly honest and lovely answer. Sometimes it takes a while. The first time I waved the magic wand for myself, which was some time ago, there was nothing there. Just blackness, just a void. And it took me a long time to kind of build myself a goal. All I had in front of me was crisis. That was all I could see. That's not true for everybody all the time. But that was definitely true for me. So let's see. We've waved our magic wand. We're potentially, hopefully looking at a goal. Next question is, Why are those things important to you? Always, always, when I'm working with folks, I am listening for the goal that is under the goal. And this is about the time where people start to really understand why their goals are their goals. If their goal is a house or a job or being debt free, why is that important to you? And it seems obvious, right? Like, who wouldn't want to be out of debt? And we're going to get there. I have all sorts of tools for that. But why it's important can be a lot of different things. It can be stability, it can be self sufficiency, it could be safety, it could be not having to worry, not being stressed out. Those are the goals that are under the goals, because safety and security can look like lots of different things, right? It doesn't have to be this particular house. It could be any housing. It doesn't have to be this job that is stable. It could be lots of jobs that are stable. So safety, security, stable. Why are these things important to you? Is it something you've never had before? I mean, would you like to try out some security for the first time? I've had people say that they don't feel like they belong anywhere. That's a very valid reason to have these goals. Why are those goals important to you? All right, next question. Let me stop for a second. So up until this point, this is pretty good positive thinking, right? You could vision board this stuff. But the next couple questions I'm about to ask you are not positive thinking. They're what's called negative visualization, which is not the same as negative thinking. Negative visualization is a way of thinking about the future that prepares us in a better way without it being super scary, without any risk. And as we move through the courses, these 10 weeks, I'm going to talk about negative visualization quite a little bit and have lots of great tools for you for that. But this is kind of the first little hint that we are going to take these good positive thinking tools, us building these big, beautiful dreams, and we are going to sort of get serious about it and dig around in a different way. So the question is, how serious are you? And I think it's important that we say that. We say how serious we are. I've sat with potential clients who are not my clients currently, and I've had them say, I'm not very serious about this. Well, that's important for me to know too. How serious are you about getting to your destination? And the last question that I'll ask as part of this little one, although there are more questions, is what steps have you already taken to get there? And I can't even begin to imagine what kind of steps you've already taken. Write them out, though. Write out the steps that you have already taken. And there's like a sub-question that's under that question. Do you feel like you're doing not enough or too much? Do you feel like you are expending too much of your time and energy towards this or not enough? And there's no right or wrong here. This is you evaluating your own activity. I do not get to tell you what you're doing is right or wrong. So these questions are for you. So a little history. This series of questions came about because of me. So many, many years ago. So I was never the kind of person who spent all my money on fancy TVs and splashy cars and lots of shoes or anything like that. So I never really understood why I was always kind of walking the razor's edge of finances. Like I was always just about in desperation, always, for years. I was definitely the kind of person who told myself I was having a bad day, so I needed a latte. That absolutely happened many times a week. I definitely was the kind of person who told myself I was a bad mom and a bad parent because I had to pay late on a PGE bill. I remember crying for like a half a day because I was a bad mom because I was paying late on PGE bill. And I was definitely the kind of person who generally, I went to bed trying to go to sleep, doing the math over and over and over again in my head, trying to make it work out. and I did not understand what I was doing wrong. I felt like, and I understood how to do a wants versus needs, right? We all know this. We all know we're supposed to save more and spend less. We all know that we are supposed to focus on our needs and not our wants. I did not understand why I was struggling as hard as I was. So I reached out to the financial services world to educate myself mostly. I got licensed. I have 2 financial licenses. I've maintained them. And I began working with an agency, a brokerage, who has super amazing financial literacy classes. And when I say literacy, financial literacy, I'm talking about financial mechanics. Like I said, stocks and bonds. This is how a mutual fund works. This is how to pay off your debt. This is the 12 million different kinds of life insurance, all of that stuff. I mastered financial literacy in about 2 months. And I'm not bragging. That's just me saying that it's not as complicated as they make it out to be. And because I am a giant nerd, I took that information that I had and my licenses, and I worked with 3 families in about a month to help them. Because I had this knowledge and I wanted to share it. I still do. That was my purpose. So, 3 families in a month, and I built them beautiful plans. Everything from how you're going to save for your kids' education to how you're going to save for your retirement, how you're going to pay off your debt in 5 years instead of 30. And they were gorgeous. And all 3 of those plans, bing, 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 all 3 of those plans failed because they did nothing. Each one of those families did absolutely nothing. And I got to thinking about that. The plans were gorgeous. I'm not going to lie. They were beautiful. And these families weren't dummies. So where was the problem? So I began researching what it takes for us as people to make changes in our lives that stick. And what I found took me about 2 years to kind of build the curriculum that I use now. And shortly after that, I was sitting down with another family, and we were talking about her goals, and one of her goals was to have a corgi farm, a farm of corgi dogs. I hope everybody knows what a corgi is. That's why this structure that we use to set goals is called the corgi farm structure. It's because that was because that conversation with her is the first time that I successfully helped someone set goals. And it was the basis of the whole curriculum. So that is the corgi farm. If I ever talk about the corgi farm lady, I'm sure when we talk in person, I can tell you the entire long story about her process of setting her goal that she had never told anybody. She'd never even told her husband about wanting a corgi farm. And I think it's important that those big, beautiful dreams that we have, that we keep sacred in our hearts and never tell anybody about, that's our momentum. We can have a ton of activity. We can get a bunch of stuff done. But without a direction, we can't build momentum. We will never go anywhere. So, gosh, I can't think of anything that I may have missed. I'm hoping that as I've been talking, you've been writing comments to Angie and I who are watching. Angie's going to talk to us next on Thursday. So when we meet in the actual group on Zoom, we would love to have your comments there too. So your homework, because there's going to be homework, of course, is that between now and Thursday, I'd really like for you to write out what your corgi farm is. What is your ultimate destination? There's no wrong answers. You can't get this wrong. And we will move from there. It is difficult in a one-directional environment like this to talk about those things, so I am available to you folks for individual coaching and consultation. That's part of the participation here, is that you have me available to you. We could just set up times to do that outside of this. So thank you for joining us. I'm glad. I know that a lot of the folks that signed up were from the May-June class. And I am super excited and super intimidated by this whole thing. So we'll get through this together. Thank you guys. Welcome. So happy to have you. We will talk to you soon. Thank you guys. See you soon. Bye.